everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today and for the February QualiWare user group meeting. This is the time of year where the sun actually starts to make its way back to us and we start to feel its warmth, and hope starts for spring, which is really, amazing. So thanks to those of you who joined mid-conversation and wondered what part of the user group meeting are you in, as we were discussing the Olympics instead of actually what we're doing here. So we're here for the QualiWare user group meeting for February. Welcome everyone. The agenda for today, I'm going to go through in a moment. The usual housekeeping welcome slide applies. Cameras and microphones are available to you to turn on and off at your will. The meeting is being recorded. There are a number of people who were not able to join today and didn't want to miss Kuno's presentation. So Kuno appreciative of being able to record this today and make it available to those people who won't be able to join in person. Is there anybody on the call who's new to us today and feels brave enough to say hi? We promise we'll be kind. If anybody wants to say hello to the group, you're welcome to. Going once, going twice.
Hey guys.
Going 3 times. There you go. Okay, so our agenda for today is Kevin's going to go through a few things for us on CloseReach News. We have Kuno Brodersen here, who most of you know is the CEO of QualiWare. And Kuno is going to talk a little bit about what's new and fun and what's going on over there. And also, time permitting, because I know you guys will all have a million questions. Time permitting, then we'll have a look at the QualiChat, which is one of the new features that came out in QualiWare 10.10. And that will probably be a very full agenda. And then we'll wrap up with the talk about the next meeting and anything that you guys might be interested in learning more about. So Kevin, I am going to turn it over to you. Talk about CloseReach News.
Great, thanks very much. Welcome everybody. Wanted to talk a little bit, I guess, about new product stuff that we're working on. We have an AI governance solution that is in pre-release mode right now, but we expect to get a full release in the next couple of weeks. And it really draws upon Government of Canada and Treasury Board specific information, policy information, best practices, et cetera, et cetera. And so we use that as the basis for building out this solution, the desktop and queries and content information. The solution is being added to the software licensing supply arrangement, so it can be acquired in that way. And we're in pre-release mode actually with shared services right now. So, having some conversations with them. QualiWare is on the Microsoft Marketplace and will be adding CloseReach as a reseller, enabling departments to use their Azure credits with us. So if your department has no funding, but you have Azure credits, you'll be able to use the Microsoft Marketplace to talk to us about product and other things. So we have some events coming up. QualiWare's webinar series. There's a series of different webinars. You've got a link there to them.
Oops, sorry.
That's all right.
That's my fault. That's my fault. Sorry
Anyhow,
about that.
Covering compliance, risk management, AI, and the QualiWare Go app, which is the Apple, iOS, Android mobile app. So a way to get access to your repositories when you're not at your machine, or a way to download some information from repositories before you're cut off from service. So, you can, that kind of stuff will be covered there. And there is stuff on the Center of Excellence as well about some of these things. In terms of our own learning services, we have a self-paced on-demand governance workflow engine, QualiWare Basic, and Publisher course, now available on our website. So an individual can come in and gain access to the content and serves as a refresher if you've taken a course some time ago and haven't touched the tool, but you have access to the content for a period of time. Our next Ask the Architect Lunch and Learn is this Wednesday, and if you're interested, contact Cecile. Cecile, do we have some topics we're discussing at that? You never told me.
Yes, actually, the invitation is going out to the people who joined the first one. So they will automatically receive the invitation for Wednesday. And I believe Brenda's going to be talking about data sovereignty. Was one of the topics.
So if you want to be invited to Ask the Architect Lunch and Learn on Wednesday, contact Cecile and she'll get you connected. So this is not a blasted out to the world thing. This anybody can attend, but we set up the access to it specifically. Also, a reminder about our new topic-specific micro-learning products that have been added to our website. So specific little segments covering different kinds of functionality. And you can pick that up by going through the learning services part of the website to gain access to some of that. So that's all I have, Cecile. Thank you.
You're welcome. I think that's everything. So Kuno, that was really quick. So now it's your turn.
Is it? That's great.
It is.
Perfect.
It is.
I'll start sharing then. So let me start with a a couple of hours of PowerPoints here. It's gonna be short, but a little bit from the beginning.
Folks, if you have questions for
just
Kuno,
interrupt.
either interrupt or raise your hand. Kuno, I'll keep an eye on the chat if anybody's shy, and I'll let you know.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay. Let me start sharing here, and I hope you can see my screen now. It should say QualiWare Group Meeting Canada and so on.
Yes.
Let's start a little bit here with some of the news that we have here. Just so you know where we're going with QualiWare. QualiWare has established a new subsidiary in Toronto, Canada. Hi, Brenda. She's here on the meeting. She's the Senior Vice President of Sales in North America now. We are hoping to sort of gain more traction in North America in general. I know that there's a lot of political aspects to this, but we can just say that it's been an important market for us for many, many years, and we really want to make sure that this is growing. We have also expanded our representation in Australia. Leighton Preston, some of you may know him actually. He'll be responsible for this expansion. He's moving to Australia. And we also in Europe, we are setting up new partners in Switzerland and the DACH region, Deutschland, Austria, and Switzerland. And it's a company called Fröhlich Consulting, a small company. They are primarily going to help our customers in Europe generating more revenue from their EA investments in QualiWare. So that's what we're aiming at here. So a little bit about what do the analytics say, and here's the Gartner EA Magic Quadrant for EA tools in 2025. And as you can see here, or maybe that's actually 2024, it says here down at the bottom, QualiWare is in the leaders quadrant. And then what happened? Well, a lot of these vendors in the Magic Quadrant, they merged. So because of their sort of increased revenue and size, we were moved down a little bit here in below the line. So now in the visionaries. Now, if you go and look at the different assessments of the product, this is not the product, of course, this is the business, but there is a critical capabilities section in the Magic Quadrant, and you will see that QualiWare has gone up on all the different assessments. So we are actually moving to the top on the functionality of the product, but on the size of the company, it's a little bit lower, not because of us, but primarily because of what happened to the other guys. If we look at what Gartner talks about, you'll see that they are actually quite positive about us. QualiWare devotes half of its overall revenue to product development and research. It has been consistently early adopter of emerging technologies. That sentence is important to us, such as augmented reality and agentic AI, while pioneering complex regulatory compliance solutions. Of course, that is easier if you're coming out of the EU, because you have to accept that there's a lot of regulatory compliance being introduced here. QualiWare also provides full support for Edgy, an open source tool for collaborative enterprise design, and I hope you've heard about that. One other thing that they write about us is that QualiWare average lifetime customer contract duration is 15 years, which is true. This is the longest in the EA tool markets. That is a very nice comment in my view. That this means that when customers are buying QualiWare, they're creating value to themselves using that tool, and it stays there for quite a while. And then intentional focus on regulatory compliance. QualiWare has invested considerably resources in supporting evolving standards like CSRD, CRA, and DORA. For those of you who are not familiar with the EU legislation, this has something to do with regulatory rules that has been introduced in Europe. So if you look at another, not Gartner, but another company here, Infotech, we are in this leaders quadrant, as you would say, which is very nice. There's another one, the Spark Matrix. In this case, is on digital twin. We're up here, very well placed on the technology excellence, of course. As you can see, we have a little icon here. It's like an arrow or lightning. It says here, Ace Performer. Very nice little extra information. We're actually the only Ace Performer here, so it's moving in the right direction, I could say that. So having said that, this is what the customers and, well, this is actually what the analysts are thinking about when they think about QualiWare. Now, what are we going to do? Now, when I say here QualiWare 10.10, right now 10.10 is out there, but what the plus means is what happens in the future. So where are we going with 10.10? And there's also an 11. I'll come back to that a little later. So let's take a look at that. First of all, there's a lot of new desktops that is going to be introduced. The desktops that we introduced in 10.10 has been very well received. They basically are organized according to a customer journey. So you basically have sort of that step of activities that you would use for a specific subject or a topic in the desktops. And what we're introducing here is an AI Act desktop, which is responding to a new legislation in EU, which basically talks about you need to document where you're using AI and what you're using it for and what are the risks related to that. So you can see there are some query designs and things like that has resulted in lists that you can highlight where do we have an AI usage that has high risk or unacceptable risk, and so on and so forth. And the way that you would, as an architect, that you would make this happen is to go to the information about the AI that sits on all objects in the repository. So basically, every object has this subtab. It's in the governance, as you can see here in the AI usage. There are two sections. One section that has to do with the use of AI in the target that this object describes. So if you have an object describing an application, and this application that you're defining with this object is using AI, you would define up here what is the use of the AI in that application. Now down here at the bottom, that has to do with, was this object in itself, the content of this object, did we use AI for that? So when you're using the QualiWare AI facility to generate a diagram, for example, all the objects that are generated will have documentation that this object was generated using AI, this service and this model, and so on and so forth. So, in other words, we are trying to support all the requirements that are coming out of the politicans right now everywhere, that we need to document. We need to think about what we use AI for. We need to document whenever we use that, and that is the way the world is moving. So this is something that we have decided to support. And what you're looking at here, as you can see, it looks very concrete, like it's already developed. Yeah, that's right. It's already developed, but it's not released yet. So what you're seeing here is not released yet. If you're thinking, where do I find that? You only find that in our release plan. So, and the GDPR desktop, the GDPR is a legislation that has to do with handling of personalized information, something that has been very important to EU and the European Union as well. There's a regulation about that. And to be honest, it is a tragedy to see how we are handling personalized information in general. Not in QualiWare, of course, because we're thinking about it, but especially in the public sectors and things like that. So there is a number of rules and regulations you need to comply with. So there's a desktop for that. I don't know personally if this is similar in Canada, but I would imagine that given the way that Canada and Europe are close together, that there will be a similar type of discussion going on in Canada. Then there's another thing here, and that is a little bit sad. And I'm gonna come back to how are we looking at this right now, but the world is changing. There's actually a war going on in Europe right now between Russia and Ukraine, and it means that there is a new tendency, political tendency and tendency in Europe, that you need to get prepared for what can happen, and this preparedness is something that needs to be working well. Like in all the municipalities, the schools, the kindergartens, the water plants, the electricity, and all these different places, you basically need to prepare for what can go wrong. And so we created what is called a preparedness desktop that allows every company basically to prepare for what can go wrong and what are we going to do about it. This is something that has been a major thing in Denmark. I don't know why, but this is where we've really seen a very strong interest for this, and we've basically addressed. There is 98 municipalities in Denmark, and we are addressing all the preparedness that the municipalities need to have in place. It's not just a question of knowing, if you're working in a water plant, what happens if the pressure in the pipes are increasing. That may be some sort of digital thing that is going on, but what should I do as an employee in the water plant? That preparedness needs to be in place, and the desktop here is where you basically design your preparedness. The app that we're going to talk about a little later is where you get that information. I have an old contact who's been the lead of the Danish defense, and I asked him, what do you think we can use QualiWare for in a situation where there's a war going on? And he looked at it and he said, well, you know what, all that ISO 9001 stuff, it may not be that interesting when there's a war going on, but knowledge sharing, that is essential. Knowledge sharing is the biggest thing that you can think about in a crisis situation. Roger, you have a question?
Roger.
Yeah, I have a question. Like this particular one seems like it's a component of risk, like one of your risk types. Is that how you guys are looking at it? Is that how you're selling it? We have a bunch. We have operational risks, we have financial risks, we have reputational risks. We also have bad actor risks.
It is sort of what is known as the business continuity management. You can see it down here. It basically has to do with what can go wrong, how do we prevent it from going wrong, if it happens anyway, how do we recover from the situation that we're in right now. And it's something that it sounds very simple, but it is really something that has become increasingly more important. Risk management is an essential part of it, but risk management in some terms have a a more broader view, and it may be very serious and not very serious, and there may be different type of risks in the business continuity. It is a little bit more, like people will die type of thing. And that's really, so it's a little bit more serious. So in Danish we have that extra word for it, beredskab, which is preparedness basically, that assembles all these things. But yeah, it's a lot of risk management. Yeah, so let's look at it here. I made a demo for a municipality called Ringsted, which is a municipality in the middle of Zealand. And if you are working in the private school, Ringsted private school, you may click on that map here. Where are you working? I want to know what I need to do. Well, you click Ringsted school, and then there's a ecosystem diagram for the school where you have the infrastructure, some education areas, what is the electricity and the water and the food in the canteen and things like that. What are we doing? And each of these may have their own sort of I know this isn't Danish, so don't try to find out. This is real life data from the Danish municipalities. So how do we prevent this? It's basically just a question of being able to find out, what do I need to do when I'm in a certain situation at a certain place? So you can say, what's the difference between this and enterprise architecture? Not a lot. It's just a different type of information, and it's a different organization that makes it easy. I work here and I'm doing this, and then you get your stuff up. Yeah. So that is something that is important in Europe right now, and then there's this one, and this one is a little bit. I would almost say it's tragic, but let's talk about it. The digital sovereignty. Margrethe Vestager, you may know of her. She's from the EU. She's Danish, but she is a minister in the EU. And she talked at the Gartner Symposium in Barcelona last November here. And what she said was, European CIOs are looking for methods that can make companies independent of the American big tech giants. And it was, to say that at a Gartner conference is, it's maybe very honest, but also a little bit provoking, I think. So what I did was to contact the Gartner consultant and asked for a personal advisory meeting. And what he said there was exactly the same thing. And he's from America. He's a U.S. Citizen, and he works for Gartner. And what he says was, the European CIOs are looking for methods that can make companies independent of big American tech. And so, what are we doing about that? Well, QualiWare has decided to offer a solution to the problem that enables the customer to install QualiWare software on a local server based on open source, which provides the same functionalities and security as those delivered, for example, by Microsoft. Now, this is easy to write. It's just four sentences. But it's, from a technology point of view, it's a big challenge, and we've worked with this for a while. And I know that this is getting a little bit technical, but we are actually going to offer an open source solution called Tapas. It's delivered by a Danish-Dutch company, Lars Rossen. I don't know if you know him, but he was the former board of director in the Open Group. And he is responsible for the IT for IT methodology. He's also a friend of mine, and him and a guy from the Netherlands have gotten together, and they have assembled a lot of open source and basically written 1,000 lines of code to integrate those different open source components so that it will make up a knowledge suite that can do everything. So the combination of QualiWare and the tapas can deliver secure knowledge about preparedness, quality, business, and technical architecture in a local IT environment or in the cloud without using big tech, and actually with better quality. All expected features are available, and you cannot name a single feature that you have in your Microsoft environment that this open source solution does not include. Identity management, actually this is what QualiWare has been working with in the tapas, the identity management. Jacob is some of you may know Jacob. He's a master in security and identity management, so he's been really a powerful knowledge to have in tapas. It also includes databases, document management systems, AI suites, Office suites functionality, video meetings, internet firewall backup. It has everything. Now, this sounds like I'm saying that from now on, this is going to be much better than what we've been working with. But to be honest, QualiWare has had a really good relationship with Microsoft from 1991. And we have been very happy with the technology that they've delivered. It always works. It always gets updated. It's very secure. So it has been a decision that was tough to make, actually, to say, are we going to ruin our relationship with Microsoft with this? And what we're doing now is both. Actually, we're not going away from Microsoft, but we offer another solution here that will allow you to make a municipality. If you have a system in the water plants or in the school, you can make a local cloud version that works on your local intranet, so that if you try to find something and the internet has gone, then you still will be able to share your knowledge. So it runs in all types of cloud: international clouds, municipal clouds, company clouds, and even local PCs.
So
One
Kuno,
thing that is good about this, let me just say one thing here, which is the final conclusion. This is open source, so this is free of charge. You're not going to pay anything for the license. We offer a support function as a support contract, which is a little bit of a fee that you pay. This is very normal for open source. I don't know if you're aware of how you use open source, but that is normal. The software doesn't cost you anything, but then there's an extra fee for the support. And QualiWare 10.10 Plus, which is 10.10.3 or whatever, and QualiWare 11 are planned to be able to run on tapas. Any questions?
Yeah, I see that Mario has his hand up. Mario, just really quickly, 1 second before I get to you. I do want to just jump in for a moment to plug QualiWare's newsletter. And if you don't subscribe to QualiWare's newsletter, please go onto their website and sign up for the newsletter. The newsletter that came out this week had an article on tapas in it. So if it's of interest to you, you can find information on QualiWare's website. I also made a PDF version of the article because I was going to circulate it out to our customers, so I can pop that into the chat here. So if that's of interest, and then we can set up further discussions. But do subscribe to the QualiWare newsletter. You get information about new features, how-to tips, webinars, blog posts, etc., and it's available on their website. It's a good resource. Mario, you had something. Sorry, Kuno.
Sure.
It was just a very minor thing that as far as definition goes, open source doesn't mean that it would be free of charge, even though most of the time open source stuff is free of charge with perhaps a proper support, or like what Tapas is doing. Definitionally, open source is more so just about how the core data of it is held and stuff.
Yeah. So, but this is free of charge, and the Dutch guy, the Danish guy, and QualiWare, we are establishing a what you call, a small company that owns this in the sense that we own the responsibility for this, and it's been decided that this is free of charge. So that's basically the way it is, and the reason for this, we have a number of defense customers, and we have a lot of manufacturing companies delivering to the defense. We have a lot of government agencies and municipalities as customers. This is something that we decided to do because, well, it's not something, you don't have to agree or disagree with this, but we just felt that we had an obligation to include this dimension in the work that we're doing. So the QualiWare toolset as such is still an enterprise architecture tool and a compliance management tool, but since it's being used to share knowledge about how do you handle a crisis situation, we thought it would be important that the technology, the underlying technology, would be supporting this in the way that, like I said, the CIOs in Europe at least have reacted to the current situation. And again, like I said before, we are hoping that this situation is sort of a temporary or intermediate situation. We don't hope that it will continue forever, but no matter what, we need to make sure that we are able to run our technology in a situation where there is a crisis going on. I hope that makes sense.
Okay.
Should I continue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please do.
QualiWare 11 is still on its way. And QualiWare 11 is a new technology in QualiWare that we introduce. Now, the QualiWare integration server that you can see down here working on the SQL server, that's still the same thing, except that it may be working on tapas and then it's not SQL server, but that's just a special case. And the browser is also the same thing. Now, the Windows environment is going to disappear and it's going to be replaced with the QualiWare collaboration server. Now, the collaboration server is a Node.js based software. We started building this a couple of years ago, and it's getting closer to being ready. And it's a little funny that we basically chose to base this collaboration server on non-Microsoft technology, just because it's free of charge. And the collaboration server is a middleware server that can be instantiated multiple times. So if you have one integration server, you may have 10 QualiWare collaboration servers, in different countries or in different areas of your business or whatever, so that it is a server that basically supports horizontal scaling, and that's why we're building this. Another thing that is soon to be released here is Archimate 4. Also something that I'm in that group of people in the open group that talks about what is Archimate. For a while it was called Archimate Next, and it's soon to be released here. This is a different version of Archimate, and something has changed dramatically. There's now, in the core elements, there's something called process. There's no longer an application process and a business process and a technology process. And the same with functions and services and events. It's changed into just process, function, service, and event. So there is a change in the structure of Archimate, and it's something that, to be honest, it has generated a little bit of frustration with some of the people that we've been talking to, but I think that if you look at Archimate as it is right now, it's quite complicated. There's a lot of relationship and a lot of templates that are more or less the same, and what they've done here is adopt some of the UML or open group specialization features and using that in the Archimate toolset instead. So we'll support this, of course, as with all the other Archimate versions, and it's on its way out. Another thing that we've been working quite intensively the last couple of years is the integration with OpenAPI. We basically have created a tool for integrating systems that are based on OpenAPI. And what we can do is now take the OpenAPI structure, which is a structure that defines the integration layer for a system, and we can bring that into QualiWare. And what we do when we've done that, it goes into a QualiWare meta model, just objects and relationships. We can then generate a platform independent layer or representation of the knowledge shared between systems without having sort of the physical system layer. And we use ontologies for that. And from that ontology, we can generate class diagrams or data model diagrams. So basically reverse engineering the integration layer all the way up to a logical layer. And then, of course, we all know that it doesn't become logical just because you move it into a different diagram type. But the other way is also an option. And one of the things that is characteristic for the OpenAPI layer is that there are 4 types of operations. It's sort of a get, post, patch, and things like that. Whereas if you go into a class diagram, you can have multiple different types of operations. And in order to get from the logical layer of operations to a level where you have the physical layer that the OpenAPI supports, we had to invent an intermediate sort of structure where you can see those operations as part of different systems, we can generate. And I hope that some of you who are familiar with the UML, you can see that this looks a little bit like a sequence diagram. You have users, pet store, tag, category, pet user. This is the structures, and then you have the different, and these are just notes, the different actions, operations that have a sort of a higher level or more logical level. So on the integration between the OpenAPI and the logical layer, we have created a new type of ontology-based structure that you can use. Then we have developed an enhanced support for the Microsoft Power Platform. So, for example, we have included Power BI as an option to get data not just from external sources, but also from within the QualiWare toolset, and basically introducing integration with the different Power apps. So, for example, when QualiWare is in the Power App integration, there's like hundreds of systems that can use the Power platform integration facility to create integration between systems. So this is something that opens up the content in QualiWare for a lot of other systems, and vice versa. When we talk about the digital twin, a lot of the data that exists in the sort of more operational systems that we want to have into QualiWare can be integrated directly into QualiWare through that integration platform. We also have a partner in Canada that CloseReach are using as partner as well. They're called CBP. They do simulation or advanced calculations on processes. That's also something that has been introduced in the next release in QualiWare, and they're quite happy to show that, I'm sure. Then we have a plan for looking at the hierarchy views. There's a lot of positive feedback on the hierarchy tiles that we have in the desktops and the links into other systems. It looks like people are happy with that structure. And so we thought maybe this is a way that actually can be used to make it a little easier to understand. When I went to a municipality in the middle part of Zealand, Ringsted, as we talked about before, there was this responsible for the preparedness, and he said, no, hang on. We have all these Word documents, and they're in this hierarchy, and everybody can just go and find the right word that they're looking for, and that's right. That we all know what a hierarchy is, and a file manager. But then some of the guys said, well, we are different parts in the organization uses different part of the documents, so maybe we should have a different view on all those documents. But having said that, the complex structure of the architecture tool was a little bit of a sort of a problem for us, because if you think about architecture, you're happy with multiple views on the same content. But if you're just looking at, you need to find the right document when you need it, then normally that would be different. So we thought maybe we should improve the process hierarchy here, not just being a process hierarchy or structure, but in general a hierarchy that we can use in the desktops. And one of the things that we thought about was the methodology that sits behind the scenes here for our desktops. Back in the days, we would typically use the work models to define the methodology. So here's the project management for structuring, define the conceptual logistic, the functional structure, change request, and then for each activity or project activity, there would be a result, different deliverables that should be produced. And for each deliverable, there may be some ways of checking, the quality of that deliverable. So it's the activity, the deliverable, and the quality control. And we thought maybe that is actually a good thing to move into the hierarchy. In this case, it's just objects, but we could also have a hierarchical view of the methodology. And that's something that we're working on right now. And, feel free to provide feedback so we can, adjust it so you're happy with the results eventually. Then the QualiWare Go, which is the mobile app, we've expanded that quite significantly. It is the way that you would share your knowledge, and it's important that you can do that everywhere where you are. So the QualiWare Go app, of course, you know that it has this augmented reality. It can recognize a QR code, and then it will, get the right documents and menus and processes, whatever, for whatever you're looking at. I remember Vince from Canadian Defense said, do we really need to put QR codes on all our tanks? And that's not the case. It can actually also recognize a tank, right? But if you want that little button at the bottom there to be some specific thing, then you may actually need a QR code. And when we went out to the different sort of manufacturing companies with this, they say, well, we have QR codes on everything, so that's fine. So it is a little bit, you can use one or the other, but what it does, it finds the information that you need when you are in a specific situation in front of a specific machine or whatever. It also has GPS recognition. So if you're walking around in a school and you're in the, swimming hole or whatever, then it will recognize you down at the swimming area. So it will pick up whatever belongs to that area. And in general, we have added features to the QualiWare Go that makes it easier to communicate with. So, for example, it can talk to you. You can talk to it. You can ask things to the QualiWare Go, and it can use the AI, and it can use the Siri, and basically you can even send some feedback, answer surveys, things like that. It's all very advanced in the QualiWare Go app, and you can say, why are we building a QualiWare Go app that is so advanced? Well, you don't have to look at all these things, right? It can be really easy to look at, but if you want to do something with it, then it's there. Okay, going into the AI. So the QualiWare AI plans. Right now, we're using the the Azure AI RAG, Azure AI Search RAG, for communication with for the chatbot, and we're going to take a look at that a little later here. What we're going to do now is provide our own RAG database and also an integration that you can use the MCP protocol, which is a modern protocol for AI communication for that RAG database, and that's the AI RAG database that is also implemented in Tapas that we talked about just before. We're going to implement what is called agentic AI flow, so basically a workflow automation of AI services. We're going to integrate with external AI services like, other services that can be used. For example, Microsoft has a calendar service that can tell you when you have time to meet with other peoples and things like that. So we will integrate with that, and we will basically extend the ontology and the prompt engineering. And you obviously know already now that there's a sort of an architecture layer in QualiWare so that your communication with the AI is optimal. And this is something that we will use more about. So let me just briefly talk about what is it that we do with the AI. Well, here's this guy. He knows something. He puts it into a model. It gets into a repository, and when she needs to know the same thing, she can access that through different type of devices. If we work with sort of knowledge management terminology, he's externalizing his knowledge. It sits here in the QualiWare repository as explicit knowledge, and she's internalizing this knowledge, and that's the terminology we're using. So where can we use AI service for that? Well, we can use it to build the model, we can use it to analyze the model, or we can use it to understand the model and to help explain the model to her. And we've done that different situations over the many years, actually, before something called large language model was developed, and some of it worked quite well and some of it didn't work. What has changed here is the Microsoft Copilot chatbot. That's what we're using right now, and it's actually quite powerful, and it gets a lot of knowledge shared without having to look at the models. And you can say, okay, does that mean I don't have to model anything anymore? No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean that you don't have to model anything, but you can have the AI help you modeling, and you can have the AI help you understand the model. But the structure is still, very important when we talk about the AI. So, for example, here I have a process model. If I want the AI to build a work model for the book car here, normally I would invite all my friends. We would go into a room, put yellow stickers on the wall, and when we agree on the new process, somebody would sit down and draw it into QualiWare. Now, if we use the AI service for that, in order to understand fully what is book car top level here, that AI service needs to know the context. There's a prompts, details, expected results that goes into the AI service, and then it creates this nice diagram. And of course, what happens is that there may be some business information that goes into the AI service. We may not want to release all the information about that process, but only what is needed to create that workflow diagram. So we have an ontology diagram that acts as a security filter about what data are we going to share with the company in California. And for the business process that we selected here, we want to know the name, the short description, the purpose, and the description. There's also an owner and a responsible, and this is a position. Now, for some customers, they are not using positions, they're using persons. But if we follow this ontology, if it's not a position, it will not be shared with a company in California. So if it's a position, project manager or whatever, then we can share it. But if it's Kuno Brodersen, that person is not going to be shared. That information is not going to be shared. So there is an ontology. An ontology is a structure of knowledge, just as a definition. And this is a filter, ontology filter on what do we share with the AI service. Do we want to share the information system names? Yes, we do. Or if we don't, just delete that object here, that ontology class. If you delete that one, that's not going to go over there. So you draw a diagram that basically decides what are we sharing. And the knowledge scope for the AI is the scope where you can define the rules. So there are four. It's called a knowledge scope. For the generate workflow diagram, there can be a definition, a couple of examples of a workflow diagram. What is the purpose? Is to create a new diagram. What is the context? Is the current selected object? We select that yellow fish. And then we selected as a business process. We had the ontology, that is the filter. We can have a root definition. What is it that we have of prompts? So prompt engineering is something that is very important when we communicate with AI services. So we can have here definition and reuse of prompts. So all workflow diagrams must start with a business event. Symbols and start and end with a business event. Symbols and connections will always be blah, blah, blah. And we have some rules for workflow diagrams, some naming objects and, different type of rules, prompts that we can send to the AI service so we get the right answer. And then there's the response. How do we want the response to look? Well, we have a workflow diagram. We have some symbols we want to see, some connections. Oops, sorry. Yeah, that was the wrong button I pressed here. And then there may be a response to description and a response ontology. So basically, we have a very strong support for artificial intelligence, and that's also what Gartner acknowledged. And we consider the AI as something you really need to architect as well as everything else you architect, and that is something that we support. Here, the AI chatbot, how does that work? Well, you have the QualiWare repository down here, and we put stuff into the Azure AI search that generates a RAG database, and then you can access it from there. Now with version 11, there's also other ways of doing that, and what Microsoft has included in that type of feature is the ability to enrich the AI or the knowledge that you share with the AI. And we have an AI enrichment template in the tool so that you can put extra stuff on that particular RAG database. For example, if you're using a special methodology that nobody else knows about, maybe you want to talk about that methodology to the AI search so that the Copilot will know what the meaning behind that model is. And so that's something that you can put in there. So AI queries and enrichments and things like that can be handled. Yeah. When we talk about the response ontologies, we get a JSON file, actually, to be very technical, but we get a response from the AI, and we need to convert that into objects and relationships, of course. And there's another ontology that can design what is it that we want to use that response for, and we want a business process and a capability and a position and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. So there's a lot of stuff in the AI that has to do with creating diagrams and text. If you're creating a diagram, of course you get it in the web modeler. If you're not creating a diagram, but publishing or creating information into objects, you get them into a spreadsheet. So here the AI has created descriptions for different processes. You have a diagram, you draw a diagram, and then you say, give me a description for all these processes. And it will suggest that in a spreadsheet. And if you're happy with the description, you can change it, of course, if you want that. If you're happy, you go save objects, and then the objects will be updated. But you get that sort of intermediate layer so that you can read what the AI service has suggested and adjust that if you want to make sure that you get the right results and descriptions into your objects. Right. So that was, I'm sorry about that. That was a little long here, but yeah. So any questions to any of this?
Yeah, Gerald, go ahead.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Snow, Ontario.
Thank you.
Oh, wonderful presentation. If those of you attending remember, must have been maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I said, why can't QualiWare do, and you just stated it. Wow, I am just, I'm just overwhelmed.
Well,
thank you.
We tried to listen.
You did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So keep up the good
That's
work.
great. That's great. Thank you, Gerald. Ryan, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. Great presentation. My question is around what is the roadmap for accessibility? This probably pertains more to QualiWare 11 than 10.
So roadmap for what? Sorry.
Accessibility.
For accessibility.
Oh, accessibility. Well, the accessibility in an identity handling in the tapas is going to be more or less the same as we see in the current version. So that's not changing. We still have the same structures in the application. So the architect, the plus, and the collaboration license. We didn't change that. So yeah, so from that point of view, it's not going to change dramatically. If that's what you're aiming at.
No, what I was aiming at would be more along the lines of, say, what's the roadmap for the support of persons like a person with reduced vision, they have or they have other challenges consuming the content, like they have limited mobility. They need to browse around using the keyboard, limited sight, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Are you asking about WCAG compliance?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I was say if it's WCAG, it's something that we plan to implement support. We have a lot of features already that will allow people to change the styling and the different things, but we lack a little bit of the tagging that we plan to implement here. So there's a European standard as well as the Canadian WCAG. And so that is something that is supposed to be, yeah, coming up soon. We have a little feature that we try to include when we look at the generated things that will tell us if we are in compliance with this regulation, and I think it's getting better and better actually.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Gerald, did I cut you off? Did you have a question?
Oh, no, sorry. I'll unraise my hand. Thank you.
Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure because then I immediately went to Ryan and I didn't.
Well, I was going to say, and I know all these things require development and a lot of recycling, but did you have any sort of general time frame for sort of availability categories?
Yeah, well, but the Danes here in December, in the start of January, sorry, we said that the tapas would be out in March, and I know that's pretty soon.
That's ambitious.
Yeah, it is ambitious, but we are running it right now, and it's actually working quite well. But we do have a series of steps, but the first release that will allow you to install the QualiWare on a server locally and just run it and share your knowledge via your local area network. That should be running here in March.
Locally, music to my ears.
Yeah, exactly. And we
I've
all know.
Got a PC with 32 gig of memory.
You don't have to go out and buy a huge server. Actually, this is something that is supporting sort of low cost racks with the number of PCs in it, right? So you buy a rack with 4 PCs in it, and if you need more power, you put another PC or 2 other PCs in that same rack, because it's designed to be using and sharing that knowledge across the different CPUs that it has available. So it's a sort of pragmatic way of running the tapas system. They thought about what they did actually, so that's good. We also have a webinar if you want to know something about the compliance work that we do, I actually posted the link to that in the chat here. Martin Tulle, who is our responsible for compliance, he will do a webinar on Wednesday. So yeah, you're all invited.
You're all invited. And as well, actually, speaking of things in the chat, I will put the link to the website where the other webinars, there's going to be a series of 4 webinars coming up.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. That's cool. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Let me know if there's anything I can do, or if there are questions, you can just reach out. I'm available.
Yeah. So Kuno, were you going to show the QualiChat?
Yeah.
Working?
I will do that.
Yeah.
And it's right
Okay,
here.
perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to know how much time you would give me. So, but here's the QualiChat, and there are 2 different AI services: the QualiWare AI and the QualiChat. And the AI would generate diagrams. I don't think, or generate content. We talked about that. But what do we do with the AI chat? Well, if I click the AI chat, I can ask the repository data. And there are 2 different type of answers I can get. I can get the blue answer. It's pulled all directly from the repository data. It does not hallucinate or generate data from other sources. So if you have a security system and you answer a security question, you don't want it to go out there in the world and find just any answer, right? So it will highlight, is this data that is only from the repository. You can also ask it to go and find some general knowledge, and then it will be pink. So yeah. So if I write here, who is responsible for book, it will go and it's using the Copilot and the Azure AI search now. So it will go and find who is responsible for book car. Hopefully. Yeah, and here's the answer: the responsible blah blah blah, business process position. Show me a link to a workflow diagram for Booker. So what it does now is it provides a link to a workflow diagram. Now this was a business process called Booker, and I know there's a workflow diagram, and here it is. So if I click that one, it will show me that workflow diagram. So yeah, so that's how it works basically. Now we add the workflow diagram. This is, and I can use that workflow diagram as I want to. So there is a feature in the tool that allows me to communicate with the chat. Now there is another little thing here. I can actually go to my Teams, and I can communicate. Here's the same question I did last time I was in here documenting this, right? So I can communicate who is responsible for Booker, and it will do the same thing. Basically, ask the. I hope it will. Select the repository. I should have done that. TXCNG, maybe like this. Okay, give me that question again. So what you're seeing here is that I can basically communicate with my repository via the AI. It doesn't matter where I'm looking at it. So it's a little bit the same thing as before, right? So we don't want to go into details with this, but that means that the data is available. It doesn't matter if you're using the QualiWare Go app or you're using your AI, your your AI in QualiWare or your chat and things like that. It's available basically everywhere. So of course that has to do with the way Microsoft works and the AI that we are implementing now in the tapas is going to work in a similar way, so that we can access it from everywhere. Yeah.
Questions for Kuno about that? Kuno, sorry, I actually had a question earlier from one of our clients. She sent it to me in email, and she wasn't able to join the meeting today. And she did have a question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
It's about accessibility, and with regards to WCAG.
Yeah.
Are you able to share test results? What was it she asked? Hang on for a second. Pardon me. I'm reading. What were the results? Have you done testing? Sorry, have you done testing on where you are in the current version or under the versions that you have in development?
Yeah.
And are you able to share information about scores, test results?
Scores,
tools
I don't know, because Roman is doing the testing. What he says was that there was a challenge with contrast. So there's some rules about how easy is it to read stuff, and he wanted to work a little bit on that. But so it's not. We still get, as I'm being told, messages from that little feature that checks if we are supporting it. So we're not done yet, but it's certainly something that doesn't necessarily require any coding. It's basically just a question of the way that we style the system, basically. So and since from that point of view, it is a very flexible system. Of course, that you can control over these colors and things like that. Style sheets are available. You can change the colors on process on symbols and everything. So it's very configurable. But that also means that you can configure it so it does not support VCAG. But what we've decided is that there must be an out-of-the-box version that supports VCAG, and that's basically where we are now. If you look at the symbols and the colors in the new Archimate 4, to be honest, I don't know if they are, if they're okay with VCAG, but you can always change it if they're not. So what we've decided is where it's important has to do with, do we provide the right tags in the HTML? That is something that is not customizable. It's programs, that our program that needs to support that. And I think Usman is more or less ready with that, but I have to ask him.
Okay. Is that something that I could follow up with you on? Because she did specifically ask me to get, if we could get some additional information about that. So
I can find out, and also I don't know the exact release date for 10.3, but 10.3. I will come back to you.
Okay, that would be really helpful, because they're all being like our various government departments are being asked, as you know, about that. So if we can share some information that there's testing going on and there's progress being made, and we're using these tools to do the testing and things, that will help and answer those kinds of questions.
What we've decided so far is that it must be possible to configure a version that lives complies with the VCAG. That doesn't mean that everybody needs to do that, of course, but there must be an out-of-the-box version that complies with that. And
I think the out-of-the-box part is the key, right? I mean, if the desktops and the diagram template definitions that are provided out of the box are compliant, then with the configurability of the tool, that's the best you can hope for.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you very much again for attending today. Thanks for your questions, your comments, and thumbs up. Thanks, Kuno, for your time. Our next meeting will be March the 30th, where we will be officially on the other side of spring. Yay!
Yeah.
So please, if you have ideas, topics, things that you're interested in, please send them to me. Don't be shy. If you have feedback about the timing of this meeting, I've had one of the reasons I was so happy that I was able to record this session today with Kuno was that quite a number of people were not able to make the time of this meeting. So if you've got feedback on the timing of it during the day, the timing of it during the month, the timing of it during the week, please share it. We want to make this meeting available to you at convenient times so that we can get lots of participation, is what I'm trying to say. Kevin, did you have anything? I noticed you just took yourself off mute.
No, nothing new.
Nope. Okay, I'm just putting you on the spot then. Okay. Thanks very much, everybody, for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day. It's still sunshiny out here. And we
Stay
will see
warm.
you on the 30th of March.